So welcome to this week's episode of Super Aging. I'm Marianne from One Life to Flourish. I'm a wellness and mindset coach and an intuitive energetic healer. And my particular focus and my particular passion is on helping women, particularly at midlife, to live their best possible life for as long as they possibly can. Now, tonight's episode makes me feel just a little uncomfortable, which it is meant to. I'll get to why in a minute. So basically, as humans, we like to live in a nice, comfortable kind of way, don't we? We like our comfort zones. And one comfort zone that we have is called the thermoneutral zone. Now, this simply means that we like to exist in a small range of temperatures that don't actually put any pressure on our bodies to do any extra work to keep us warm or to help us cool off. It just is a nice little comfortable zone. And, let's face it, our modern lifestyle kind of helps that happen, doesn't it? Because we can just turn our air conditioner on. I've got mine on at the moment to keep my house nice and warm. Or when it's a hot day, keep it nice and cool. And when we go into shopping centres, there it is, all lovely and pleasant. So we just like to keep the status quo. And it's understandable. I'm all for that. I'm not great into feeling too hot or too cold, I must admit. So that's why this has been a little bit uncomfortable for me, because the fact is that research is finding that we actually need to get out of that sort of temperature zone and actually challenge ourselves a little bit. Yeah, not a great idea. But basically, this is what happens when we go into a situation where it's a little bit too cold or a little bit too hot for us, and out of our comfort zone. So we can have things like our breathing can change, our blood flow to our skin can change. Remember, our skin, of course, is the biggest organ in our body, so we're having an impact on that. And our heart rates, of course, change. And we kind of go, well, that's just what happens when you get a bit cold or a bit hot. That's what's meant to happen, isn't it? Well, yes, it is. But the reason why it happens is what this has to do with being a super ager. Because those reactions are built in as a survival mechanism. They're kind of part of our survival circuits. And that means that it's kind of aimed at switching on those longevity genes. Yes, Georgie, living in Tasmania, often too cold. Yes, I grew up in Mount Gambier. I understand cold areas, probably one of the reasons I'm not keen on them. So we'll talk a little bit more about what we can actually do. So we do actually need to embrace a little bit of the cold. All right, so basically the reactions that we have are part of a survival circuit. Now, for those people who joined me last week, I was talking, amongst other things, about calorie restriction as being a good thing. And one of the benefits of this that I didn't talk about is the fact that calorie restriction actually reduces our core body temperature, and this is a good thing. Now, let's get into a little bit of research. I like my research. So research in mice showed that when calorie restriction reduced their body temperature just a little bit, it actually ended up giving them a 20% longer life. And the bit that I really like is that when they look at that in terms of women, in particular, humans, but women, this would actually equal at least 7 extra years of a healthy life. So remember, I'm all about the healthy life as we age. Hi, Adair. I'm not sure why it's not coming up. Oh, is that just because you're on as My Time TV? I'm not sure. Anyway, good to have you here. Okay, so yes, it's been shown that, this reduction in core body temperature is a good thing. Now, what happens is when we get into those little bit reduced body temperatures, oh, there we are, Adair, now I can see it's you, it actually activates one of our longevity genes. It actually switches that on. Now, the other thing that happens when we have that drop in our core body temperature is it actually increases your brown adipose tissue or your brown fat, which is another good thing because that breaks down glucose and fat molecules. So it could kind of help reduce the storage of white fat. That's the unhealthy stuff, the stuff that leads to obesity. And of course, breaking down glucose, we know that can have an impact on rates of diabetes and that kind of thing. So how can we actually take advantage of this? Yes, well, the first thing is don't go to an extreme. All right, we don't want to get to hypothermia and going blue and so on. But there are things that we can do that can actually give us that lovely impact. So let me just check before we get into that. Calorie restrictions make me want to run to chocolate. Yeah, me too. Actually, just thinking about the cold makes me want to run to chocolate, to be honest. But yes, this is why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to keep, this is more about me than anybody else. I just want to keep reminding myself of the good habits that can help me live a longer, healthier life. Yes. All right. So how can we do this in a relatively painless way? Well, for example, if it's a bit of a cold morning or a cold day, then go out for a brisk walk. That's also been found to be good for adjusting our body temperature. Brisk walk when we're just wearing, a very basic layer of clothes, so like your t-shirt and shorts kind of thing. And just get a good, vigorous kind of exercise dressed in that way, and you'll get a good benefit. I've said don't get to hypothermia, but it's actually good to be out in a cold situation long enough to just kind of get goosebumps, maybe a little bit of chattering teeth, a little bit of shivering. So you just know that you're cold, but you don't want to keep going so that you get to an extreme. And then, of course, you could do what I used to do when I lived in Brisbane, not anymore, but I used to actually have, well, particularly in summer, I used to actually have a cold shower every single day, sometimes twice a day if it was really hot and humid. And even in winter, I would finish off every shower that I had with a short burst of just cold water. I probably should get back to doing that, but anyway, if you live somewhere like Adair does up in Queensland, something that you could do. And yes, Adair, jump off the boat into the cold water. Yes, absolutely. So it's just those short bursts of exposure to a bit of cold. Yeah. Yes, Mary, I've just been talking all about how this really challenges my thinking because I'm a bit the same way. That's why I enjoyed living in Queensland for so many years. Anyway, so cold is definitely a good thing to experience at regular intervals, and it will switch on your longevity genes. Now, the other side of it, remembering that we're trying to get out of that hypothermal comfort zone, question is, what happens if we get that exposure to higher temperatures? Is that also good? Now, this is actually something that there's been a lot less research on, which I found interesting just of itself. I don't know why that would be, but anyway, there's been lots and lots of research about lowering body temperature. Maybe it's because, we're mammals, we're warm-blooded, so colder temperatures have a little bit more of an impact on us that's quite obvious that scientists can study. I don't know, that's my assumption. But anyway, some of the research, not unnaturally, has taken place in Europe, where they actually enjoy exposing their skin and their lungs to high temperatures in a sauna. So I think all the research that I could find was done in Finland, where saunas are apparently quite big. So this is some of what they found, and it's kind of a bit iffy, but hey, if you've got a sauna near you, jump in it is all I would say. So one study just kind of looked at people who regularly spent time in a sauna versus ones who didn't, essentially. And what they found was that overall, those people who regularly went into saunas had significantly better physical function, vitality, social functioning, which I thought was quite interesting. Maybe that's because you sort of socialize in the sauna, I don't know, and just generally better health. Now, the problem with that research, which was basically carried out on people who were already fairly healthy, due to the fact that people who are quite sick and with potential disabilities and so on just don't tend to use saunas in the same way. That was the sign, like the people researching it, that was their conclusion as well. So interesting results, but this was the flaw in the research. Now, another research study that was a bit better, because it was like I don't know, more than 2,000 middle-aged men who were tracked over about 20 years. So, a better statistical kind of research. And so what they did with this group of men is they had some who actually frequently used saunas, so frequently meaning as much as every day of the week, versus someone who would only have a sauna once a week. So who knows what happens if it's less than once a week. But anyway, that was their comparison. So those who were basically hopping in the sauna every day reduced their chance of heart disease, reduced their chance of fatal heart attacks, and seemed to reduce the possibility of dying from all causes compared to those who use the sauna once a week. Infrared saunas, I have no idea, Adair, to be honest. This was about, I'm assuming just the standard saunas that they use, but I suppose the principle would be the same. Essentially, what you're trying to do is get the hot air on your skin, on your lungs, so that you get like that burst of high temperature for a short time. So some interesting stuff there, but not quite as significant as you get from the cold. Sorry for those people who, like me, not keen on the cold. But anyway, what I would say is if you have access to some kind of a sauna, probably could be helpful to use it fairly regularly. Worth a go, isn't it? All right, so a little bit of food for thought there. Now, if you are interested in improving and thinking about what you can do in midlife to improve your life long term, I have put into the comments a link to the free private Facebook group, The Magic of Midlife, where you're most welcome to ask to join. And also just a little plug for my program Midlife Healing Journey, where I'm about to have the next intake. I only take very limited numbers in each intake because I'm after those people who are really committed to the process. So if you're interested in discovering more, you can comment with yes, or you can DM me and we can have a conversation about that. All right, so, we've got someone else. Deb Palmer, is there cold water in Queensland? Oh, yes, there is. There's cold water at this time of year in the ocean, comparatively speaking. I mean, it's not as cold as going for a dip in the ocean here, but it's enough to drop your core body temperature. So, yes. And is that Ross? I don't know who that is. But anyway, thanks for your question. All right, so what's the thing to take away from this episode? Oh, okay, I'm confused about who's on now. Anyway, so takeaways. First of all, get out of your comfort zone. And I would say just generally that's a good principle, whether it's a physical comfort zone or an emotional comfort zone. Just get out of your comfort zone. But in particular, get out of your thermoneutral comfort zone. Expose yourself to a little bit of cold or a little bit of heat on a regular basis, particularly the cold, because we know that has a really significant impact. You know, like if you're in Adelaide, like I am, maybe tomorrow get up, go for a brisk bit of exercise in a t-shirt and shorts. Or else go and enjoy a sauna. All right, well, it seems like we've got a few things happening there. Yes, Gabriella, I definitely get that. I went shopping today and came home with some chocolate, I must admit. I keep telling myself I feel the cold. Can I reframe that using hypno? Well, what do you think, Adair, as a hypnotherapist? Do you think you can do a reframe that way? You could probably even reframe it with NLP, couldn't you? Really? So, yes, feeling the cold. We do want to feel the cold. So if we don't want to get rid of that sensation, or I assume we would then lose the benefit that we are after, to turn on our longevity genes. But anyway, let's see if we can wrap this up. We've kind of gone off on some little tangents here. All right, so cold, heat, have a go at it. All right, see what you can do during this week. Enjoy your week despite the weather, or maybe enjoy the weather by getting a little bit cold. All right, I will see you next week where, oh yes, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the nasties around us that we need to be a little bit careful of, and what we can actually do about that. So join me then. All right, bye for now.